What's up you guys, Team APS, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing what I think are the 5 most drastic banlist nerfs in Yu-Gi-Oh! History. But first, I want to give a quick shout out to Amino apps. So you might remember me talking about this a couple of months ago. Amino apps is basically a community app service, and I was mentioning YGO Amino, which is really cool and you can check that out, but they actually have Amino communities for anything you might like. So it could be video games, it could be music, movies, anime, comics. And the cool part about these apps is that it's kind of like your own personalized, Facebook group or something. You've got articles, you've got forums, you've got pictures and polls. You can do all these things and you can even add people as friends and follow them. You can even find private chat rooms for whatever topics you might like. So yeah, be sure to check out YGO Amino and all the other Amino apps. If you want a link to the app, I will have it in the description. You can get it on iOS and Android, and you can follow me there. My tag is Team APS. So yeah, I hope you guys give it a look. Anyways, let's get started with the video. So the first deck is Infernities. This is a deck that I think, Konami kind of didn't intend for it to stick around as long as it did. It came out in 2010, and that's when it was just a sort of Synchro spam variant that could OTK you. Konami hit Infernnity launcher to 1, and for the most part that erased it from top tier, but then when Xyz came out, Infernity's kind of changed they kind of flipped the script and became just a rank 3, rank 4 Xyz spam deck, and they were able to either OTK you or lock you out with Infernity barriers. So in April 2014, Konami decided to put barrier to 1. And you would think that, well, okay, that's fine, the deck can't really do as much, but they still ended up being really good because, well, Infernity Archfiend is just a strong card that nets a lot of pluses. Probably the best one card sort of draw combo starter in the game, I would argue, maybe not. But yeah, so eventually they had to hit it in October 2014, putting Archfiend to 1. So I want to say that at this point the deck really truly is just not viable. I mean, it took a long time, but Konami has managed to really stamp it out. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm happy about that, but I definitely think it's been one of the most Konami's sort of pet peeve decks, and you can tell they don't like it, so they kind of continue to hit it until it doesn't compete with the current decks. Next deck's Dragon Rulers. So we all remember Dragon Ruler spellbook format, but there are actually 2 Dragon Ruler formats that Konami had to kind of contend with. So obviously in summer 2013, Dragon Rulers were hugely dominant. I mean, this is when all the babies, all the big dragons were all at 3, and there was stuff like Super Rejuvenation, and you just kind of didn't beat that deck really. It was just nuts, and that wasn't really up for contention. The only deck that even could challenge it somewhat was spellbooks. Well, in September 2013, they hit all the babies, so they were all gone, and they hit like Super Rejuvenation and stuff. You'd think, oh, okay, so not that bad, but the thing was, all the babies were gone, but all the adults were still around at 3, and this is when the deck started to use cards like Cards of Consonance, what was the small Dragunity card? I forget what it was, Corseska, Debris Dragon, Return from the Different Dimension, Sixth Sense came out, and so Dragon Rulers still just dominated the game. They were still really powerful. And they used, like Spore and stuff like that to still make level 8 Synchro plays, and they could still make powerful rank 7s. So in January 2014, all the Dragon Rulers went from 3 to 1. Dragon Ravine got banned, Return from the Different Dimension got banned, Debris Dragon got limited, and Sacred Sword of the 7 Stars also got, was it limited or simied? I don't remember which, but yeah, that was like completely, this deck is gone, we've had enough of it. And then shortly after that, actually, that's when the Dragon Rulers got banned before the Dark Matter OTK came out. But I guess kind of a different story. But yeah, for number 4, I'd say Dragon Rulers are definitely high up on the list of, biggest deck nerfs. You could even maybe give them an argument for number 1 with their overall history of eventually just having them all get banned. But yeah, that's where I made on my list. Number 3 is Plant Synchro thing. Plant Synchro has kind of gone through so many different forms. It's one of those decks that really kind of just up and down, and like it's lost cards, but it always manages to adapt. But September 2011, I think, and then March 2012 were the ones that I have as kind of the most pivotal and painful ban list hits. September 2011 was when Pot of Avarice, Debris, Lone Fire, Formula Synchron, and Librarian pretty much all got limited. I think, yeah, they all got limited, yes. And I think actually when Avarice got, no, obviously limited wasn't banned, that was later. So yeah, that was basically kind of cutting a lot of the decks. Just I can summon Debris and get back all these cards and get these tokens and just spam the field with Synchros and Hyper Librarian and Formula Synchron. Just got the deck loads of draws, and that just kind of couldn't exist. I mean, it just really wasn't working. That nerfed the deck, and agents at the time were also rising to top tier contention. So The thing is, that banlist hit while it hurt Plant Synchro did still manage to stick around. So in March 2012, the deck lost Spore, Glow Up Bulb, and Trishula was banned. So Spore actually only went to 1, I believe, but Glow Up Bulb and Trishula both got banned. And while they've actually both since come off the list, at the time this was huge because this really took away a lot of the power plays from plants. They couldn't use, Glow Up Bulb to go into Synchro after Synchro, and Trishula was the trump card boss monster type of thing, and with it gone, they kind of lacked a true, power card, a win condition. So, and this is actually one of the ban lists where people were angry that it got hit, and agents, but not like windups and injectors, but new meta, different story. Number 2 is Pepe. In the first, in recent memory, emergency sort of forbidden ban list, amended ban list, whatever they called it. So that was like February 2016, and it kind of continued into April 2016. So that's when they lost what? Let's see. Plushfire, Damage Juggler, Ptolemaeus, Monkey Board, and Skull Crobat Joker both went to 1. This was like really huge because, Pepe was pretty bordering on tier 0. I mean, it was just super dominant, and after Breakers of Shadow came out and had like Pendulum Sorcerer and Guiding Ariadne and all these cards, it was just kind of getting out of hand. And that's also when Luster Pendulum went to 1. And later on, in April, that's when we lost like Wavering Eyes and stuff like that. So they basically ensured that this deck lost a lot of the absolutely nutty plays. And it's interesting to think that I kind of compare it to Plant Synchro in that it has still managed to adapt and kind of stick around and use new cards. But yeah, they eventually just kind of were like, get out. I mean, they had to hit cards like Draco Face Off and all these things that kind of made it where the deck didn't have as many duplicate copies of all these powerful cards, and they weren't able to just search and spam Plushfire and Damage Juggler and basically make kind of unlimited plays. So it was a painful hit though, and kind of an insulting one for people who had invested in the deck. So I don't want to say I'm happy it happened, but it was a tier 0 deck, and I mean it was gonna have to get hit eventually. It was just strange to see an emergency ban list really focus on one deck and just absolutely neuter it. So before I get to number 1, I've got 2 honorable mentions. The first being Six Samurai losing basically Gateway to 1 at first and then banned. And also when they lost, Shein and Smoke Signal, those cards both went to 1. And for a long time, Six Samurai players were just kind of demoralized because it's like, well, what do I do? I mean, all the consistency's gone, and Gateway was a really powerful card. I mean, don't get me wrong, it had FTKs and OTKs associated with it, so it probably had to go, but it's still one of those things where like I wish it could come back if it was maybe errated or something. And the second shout out, honorable mention is Shadal's, which, while I think that, it's too recent for me to really feel like it was that bad. I mean, I guess technically Pepe was more recent, but anyway, Shadal's lost Construct. They didn't lose like loads of cards, but they lost Construct, and that's a big deal because that was the boss monster. It wasn't Winda, it wasn't, what's the Earth one? Sheki Naga. It really was Construct. Construct gave this deck all of its combos, all of its power plays, and it kind of feels a bit harsh for Construct to get hit. Although, and the silver lining, I think it will come back eventually, maybe within a year, maybe when the deck's not relevant, but I do think that was harsh. I mean, yes, they also lost like L Fusion and Math, but Construct, that was mean. Konami, they dug deep. So deck number 1 on this list is Teledad. Teledad, in my opinion, was the most harsh ban list hit ever. It was actually also right when I started playing in March or early 2009. The March 2009 ban list was the one that hit it. A little bit of context on Teledad. It was, most people would argue, about as close as we've gotten to a tier 0 deck. I mean, full power Necroz, full power Six Sams, full power Dragon Rulers, and full power Pepe are also all good contenders, but Teledad, I think, has the most history and notoriety as being like, when there were top 8s, literally all the decks were Teledad. So, March 2009 ban list though. This is when Dark Arm Dragon, it got limited, stayed limited for basically since then. It hasn't moved back yet. Stratos got hit to 1, and then we know what eventually became of it. Reinforcing the Army went from 3 to 1. Malicious, Destiny Hero Malicious, went from 3 to 2, which is a big deal because of the way the card functions. That was effectively cutting an entire engine of advantage. Allure of Darkness, this is when it went to 2. Destiny Draw, Emergency Teleport went to 1. These were all really, really, really big hits because the way that Teledad functioned was that it was the kind of definition of super consistency, at least relative to the other decks of the time. You didn't really draw dead hands. With Allure and Destiny Draw and Stratos and Rhoda, you were going to draw into the cards you needed. You were going to get your play started, and it was just really powerful. And I think that more than anything, this just goes to show it. When Konami really wants a deck gone, they'll get rid of it. And it's a bit of a shame, like Heroes as a deck kind of lost Stratos in this exchange, and Psychics, which were new at the time, had to lose their most powerful card, Emergency Teleport. And a lot of these cards kind of stayed gone for a while until, they eventually just got power crept out. Things like, Malicious and D-Draw not really being quite as relevant, and, Allure of Darkness is finally at 2 again. But, I really have to say that this was, in my opinion, and I was new kind of to competitive play at the time, I was astonished at, how, I guess, ruthless Konami can be when it really wants to get rid of a deck. All in one slash, So, yeah, that's the video. Remember to check out Amino Apps, like I said. Check out the giveaway I'm doing this month, the Dark Illusions box. Follow me on social media and subscribe for new Yu-Gi-Oh videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's going to be it. I'll catch you guys next time.